Nice. Now
Perfect.
let me double check only YouTube. It should work.
I'm checking too.
Mm, give me one sec.
I don't see on our stream on YouTube. For me, it still says waiting. Now it's there.
So it streams on YouTube. It's working, right? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Perfect. Cool. So yes, hello everybody. To anybody that
YouTube is working, right?
Oh wait.
Yeah.
YouTube started playing the video on my iPod. So yeah, hello everybody. Today the fourth episode of designing Think Out Loud in Public, and what we're gonna focus on is we're gonna design the create test flow for the product. We're gonna explain later more details about what this flow is all about and how it really fits into the overall product. And the idea with designing in public is that we stream the whole design process so that more people can really see how a design process looks like. And we do it with Nicholas in an interactive way where he can ask me any questions that he may have around design. And this way we can share more knowledge, and we can also discuss with anybody that wants to ask any questions on the live chat and answer also these questions. So if you have any question, feel free to post it on the live chat. So let's see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna learn my.
I'm mostly a development guy, so Jim is helping me learn design, and he's giving me lots of tips.
Yes.
And I'm glad to have this opportunity to ask questions.
Exactly. That's a good one. I forgot to mention. The idea is that also Nicholas is not so experienced around UX design. He's interested into learning more, and we do it we design in a Q&A format where he actually asks me questions, and he's also challenging what I'm designing at every moment, so that we can make sure that we have the right thing as well. So it's a bit of Q&A learning plus user testing while designing. Let me share my screen. Now we can.
Yeah, perfect.
Nice. Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay, Twitter is also live. Now you can see Framer, right?
I do.
Perfect. I have also the live chat open on my my iPad in case that we receive any message. So yeah, for today the focus is the following. I discussed with Scotty, the developer of Think Out Loud, the guy that I'm building the product with, and for today we decided to focus on designing the create user test flow. The last time we worked mainly on the onboarding flow and how it looks like, how the landing page will work like. And now what we want to do is to build the internal flows of how you create and share a test so that we can have something for the MVP. On a business level, the focus right now, the strategy is to build an MVP, like a V1 that we can release, and have a private beta phase where we can actually test and iterate with people. And something that I realized by taking some time to think about it today is on the previous session we're working on the landing page, and we were trying to improve many things along the way. But at some point, I feel that we overdo it a bit and fall into the trap of trying to perfect the V1 without testing it first. So one thing to keep in mind for today as well is don't try to have like the perfect UX or anything. Try to build something that is good enough for a private beta release. So yeah, that's a good guideline to have, because the UX, it's different if it's gonna be a public beta or if it's gonna be a non-beta version, but a regular one. So yes, let's keep the scope by keeping in mind. Yeah,
That's good to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. Nice, cool. So let me take the notes. We have this screen, your tests. We worked on the internal screen as well, which is the actual test, and then create your test and edit your test. We have the screens. So our goal for today is to work on the create a test. So the flow that you go into once you click that button. One feedback point that I got from Scott is that it's not clear enough that this is an example and how I can use it. And we're thinking of adding some annotations to explain how it works, or maybe make the example test more visible with some other kind of indicator. For this one, what we decided as well is, since it's a private beta, if it's just a test that says that this is an example, it should be probably fine. So what we have in mind is, let's keep it like that without doing any onboarding improvements with tooltips or other annotations, and see how it goes once we build it and user test it. Or we can do a user testing session and see if there's any critical problem UX-wise. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Like,
Nice.
one idea would be to maybe add like an example badge to it.
Yeah, exactly. On a UI level, that's what I was thinking too. Like when you have a sample, for example, you always have some kind of a stamp on it. So that's a note to add for sure. Like, sec, and add it over here. Notes, add a UI element like a stamp or buds to indicate better that this is an example. I think that's a very nice quick win where we don't really explode the scope. We keep the scope small without too many custom stuff. And it makes it also clear that this is an example. Also for the call to action, I was thinking that it's not that bad finally with this container. It doesn't look so bad.
No, it doesn't.
When I was using it. That's another thing that we're discussing the other day. If you leave, it's always good to just leave your design as it is for some days and then just take a look again a few weeks later. It's at first when I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, this is a really bad call to action and so on. But now I'm like, okay, for a private beta, it's not that bad. People can really understand that, okay, I can click on this and start creating a test. So it does the job. Give me 1 second before we start the design. I want to make sure that the Twitter stream works.
Sure.
Bugs and so on. Yeah, it looks like
seems to work
properly. Yeah. Cool. So let's get into it. So you click create a test, and now we have this screen. Yeah, we can drop this. This is from the old designs.
Those were our annotations from last time of what's missing, what information we don't collect, but we need to collect.
Yeah, I had some notes. No, I'll pre-fill these so that people can try it out. When should people sign up? Create maybe temporary users.
All right, the whole point was that users don't sign up and only sign up when they want to create the test, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the sign up flow will be triggered once you hit create a test. So what I'm thinking about is, let's do the following to clean up the artboards a bit. I'm gonna move this below because now it's a bit messy. This one is, and we can move this a bit to the right. Let's connect the frames for the prototype. Once you click, go there. Let's add the magic motion to make it more sexy. Nice.
Is that motion even going to look good?
What, the magic motion? Yeah,
Yeah, in this case, I'll check it out on my screen.
Sorry.
To give it a try with that animation. I think it looks really bad.
Could be as well.
I tried it. It's not nice.
Okay. Create a test. So instead of starting designing the screen, let's think about first how it should work. Like that's any trap that it's super easy to fall into. I have it many times where I start designing the screen without really thinking about the user journey first and what would be the ideal flow UX-wise, and then see if it should be one screen, more screens, if it should be a modal instead of screen, and so on. So the details that we need to publish a test are actually, let's do it the following way. I'm gonna stream my screen from my iPad. Give me 1 sec. I think this is, it's better to do it this way. Because we can visualize it better. Screen mirroring. Perfect. Now you can see my screen.
Now we can see.
That's great. Sweet. Yeah, this layout is better. Sorry. So, create test flow. Always feels so nice when you just start by sketching things instead of jumping into the design tool, because then you're suddenly too opinionated about everything. On the sketch, like on the paper, the freehand kind of design, there's no like no guidelines, nothing. It's a good thing. So let's see. Create test flow. What I had in mind for this one is first to write down all the details that we need, and then how we envision the flow to be. What do we have in mind? So what we can do is, for the fields, your test should have for sure a link. That's the first thing. Then you should describe the product. So it's the product description. Then you should describe the scenario you want to test. And then you should, let me take a look on the screen that we had the test that we worked in the past.
Your own name, although that could be done on an account level later.
Exactly. Yeah. Now we just write down the requirements, and then we can see what's the best way to collect this information on a like UX-wise. So we need the name, your avatar, not profile, whatever. Name, avatar. Also, it's not name; it's first name, because we only need that, and it's more friendly. Avatar, and also the product name.
That's important.
Yes. I think that's pretty much all. And we're thinking also about the brand color.
Yeah, the brand color.
But this can be optional, but we have it as the requirement, brand color.
And on the initial design of that page, you placed a sentence, it won't take you more than 5 minutes. In this case, we might have to change the duration, like depending on the test.
Yeah, that's a good one. So for this one, should we ask it from the user or not? How much time it's gonna take for somebody to take the test they're creating? Let me think. Yeah, there is no way to estimate this because it's not like a blog post where we have all the content, and in a smart way we can calculate that, okay, it's gonna be around 3 to 5 minutes. What we could do is, actually we can write it down. Never mind. No need to overcomplicate things, because in the end it's a beta release where people will sign up to give feedback. So we shouldn't be too worried if there is a bad decision there. Like this could be estimated time, test time, let's say, to keep it short. And for this one, we can say that it's going to be optional, for example, to make sure that it won't be a blocker for somebody. So these are all the details that we need.
On the design, you also had this sentence, "Thank you a lot in advance for helping me and sharing your feedback."
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to standardize it so that it's the same for every test? Or should...
I was thinking to keep it the same for everybody.
Okay, this is going to work, but like when you have a very corporate setting, let's say a company like IBM develops a product and wants to test it through Think Out Loud, they might want it without the emojis. But that's also something you can take care of later. Like we don't have to do it now.
Yeah, that's very true. And it also like so for this one, it's not 100% clear. Like, sorry, at this point, we don't really focus on having this kind of clients. The idea is to have more indie hackers and more like modern products that are cool with using emojis. And the thing is, there is also a UX reason that the emojis exist, and the main reason is that they add more emotion. So like this emoji that we use there is the gratitude, for example. If you look at the description of the emoji, because that's what the sentence is all about in terms of UX, is about showing gratitude to the person that is going to give you feedback, because in the end, yeah, it's something you're thankful for and you need to communicate that. So yeah, I think for now we can keep it as it is, and maybe iterate on this or add a setting along the way. That's the cool thing with doing, like for when, like on the strategy approach that we follow with Scotty on this one, is that we don't go for we're gonna like do an MVP and release it in public and have everybody sign up and get feedback, which is what most people think about the MVP. Our approach is we're gonna build an MVP and then we're gonna have like a private release with specific amount of people that we want. And once we reach the point that we feel confident that this is something that works and we're proud of, then we can open the registrations. So the MVP feels better, I think, if it's a private release instead of a public one. So let's see. Give me 1 sec. You can see my screen, right?
I can.
Nice. I was about to send a link, but never mind. I can keep sketching. So for these, how could we gather all the information? First name and avatar can be could be done as part of the registration, let's say.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
During the first session, you mentioned that you often try to think offline first in these scenarios. Mm-hmm. Is there a reason why you don't try to do it like this right now, or
the think offline? Yeah, we can start with that as well.
No, I mean, I'm just asking. It's not, we have to do it like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's more I'm
thinking like I'm also thinking if the reason that I skipped it, if it's because I forgot, or if it's intentional. So let me think 1 sec.
Didn't you even do the think offline thing with this scenario already? I think it was
Yeah,
episode 2.
for the think offline, we've already done it for the product in general. But for this specific flow, I'm not sure if we did it actually. Like on the create test flow, the thing is, this doesn't exist in the offline world. So the think offline can be done, for example, on the take test flow.
Right.
So for the person that is gonna give feedback, then the offline version of this is the one-on-one call that this person would have with me or with somebody else. But on the create test flow, it's a fully online thing. You cannot like offline. Yeah, you would just start writing things on a paper. I don't know, like, but it's something interesting to discuss. How would you perceive this on the offline world?
Let's say I don't have this UI to create a test, and I create the test directly in the database, and you stand next to me, and I need to gather the information from you to fill it into the database.
Well, I got lost. Can you repeat?
Like, let's say I need to create this test manually by entering all the necessary details into the database, but I don't want to create a test for me. I want to create it for you. And then you need to tell me what this test is going to look like so that I can create it. Like
you mean that you want some kind of preview?
No, more like, yeah, we could even think about it like this. Like, you're a software developer, and I come to you and say, hey, I want you to build this software for me, which I can use to test my product. And then you ask me, okay, what's going to show up on this page? And I tell you, this is the behavior I want. This is what the user should see. This is what where the link is going to go to.
Yeah.
Is this something that works, or is it bad?
No, not really.
Why?
Like the offline is more like the offline for me. The way that I see it is, it would be that if you want to make a user test, you would use like paper, let's say, or notes, or you would write in notes and, okay, the scenario is this, I want to test that, and the person that I'm gonna test it out is this one, and this is the link, and so on. So if the app didn't exist, it could be a note or an email, let's say, where they would have like a free text and write everything. So now, instead of having like a form, like a free text, now you have a more guided way to make it. That's why I went straight into the UI part.
Okay, that makes sense.
So which this one is not really the offline. It's more like how would they do it without the tool, let's say, without this tool. So for this, we have two approaches. Like we need to collect all this data in order to create a test. So we can do, like, we have two options. The first one is multi-step flow, where you have like on a model, or to use a page and either like have one page with all the fields, or so every field one by one. Once you complete the other one, you can see the next one, and so on. So I'm thinking, like, I'm a fan of multi-step flows in general. It's something that I enjoy, but it's always the idea of we need to try them and see what feels better. Like on the screen on Framer that we took a look before, having all the fields feels a bit overwhelming, because you're like, that's a lot of work to just make a test. Even if it's not, because every field is gonna take, I don't know, like 1 second to, not 1 second, like 5-6 seconds to complete. It just feels a lot that you have to do. So sewing one step at a time could make sense in a way. So let me think. The first one, I think, is the link. In terms of priority, the first thing that you should provide is the link to your test, right?
Before that, do you have any advice on when to go with a single and when to go with a multi-step flow?
Yeah, that's a good question. for the single or the multi-step flow, it really depends. In general, what people say that a user should be able to complete an action with the least amount of like clicks or interaction. This is not something that I personally agree, because the answer is always like it depends on how complex the interaction will be and so on. So for example, on TicketHub, where I used to work before, sorry, one sec. The camera has freaked out, right?
Yeah.
That's annoying. Let me give it another try. So what I tried with TicketHub was that what we did on the set flow, it was like 8 steps flow, and we broke it into small screens, and it actually increased the conversions. And the reason is because every step was very focused. It was very clear what you need to do, and it was also easy to complete. So this is a bit of a UX myth that people like do not scroll, or people do not want to click, and so on. The things like people don't want to be overwhelmed. That's the only rule that you should have in mind. And your goal is to design in a way that is not annoying and overwhelming. So if this means to have 5 screens that have only one field, that's fine. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The only way to really know is by trying. Because every product is unique and every flow is unique. You need to prototype it and use it and see if it works or not. Because multi-step flows can introduce more complexities where you need a review screen at the end, where people, like, if they go through 9 screens, through 9 steps, they need to review everything before they make the final submission. So yeah, as you can see, you can have more complexity. Also, the navigation is trickier there. And there are also more patterns where you can have, instead of like one step at a screen, you can have the first step, you can have the first step visible, and then the rest ones grayed out. And then you can, once you complete the first step, you can show the second one and still be able to see what you have completed and what's coming up from the bottom. So there are many UI patterns that you can follow, and that's pretty interesting to think about as well for content in general. Like these are the main 3 approaches that you can follow, and we can also try out. So let's see. On this one, the big question is which approach works better. That's what I'm trying to think about as well.
What you asked earlier is what the first thing would be that you would need to provide.
Yeah. What's the right order to ask this information? What should be the first item?
Like the link probably makes sense in a lot of scenarios where you already know I'm going to test this link and it's just the main page of my product. Like I show them the landing page, they need to create an account because otherwise they cannot test, and then they go to some subpage. But maybe in another scenario where you send it to users who are already logged in, you know what you want to test. Like I want to, in this case, test the test creation flow. But I'm not sure yet where this is going to start. Yeah. Am I going to start on the landing page, or am I going to start on another page?
You mean where this flow is going to be triggered?
Yeah. And where you maybe, I want to test this flow, but I'm not entirely sure yet if it's going to start on the landing page or if it's going to start somewhere else where I want to send the user to.
Yeah, I see. For this one, it's going to be through the landing page at this point. That's the only, like, you first get a bit of onboarding where you understand how the product works, and then you, on the landing page, you have a create test button.
Yeah, like in this case.
Yeah.
For other products, it might be different. So I think the thing that is pretty clear in the beginning is the scenario, or like the title of the test. I think we didn't write it down. We need a title because in the test overview, we have a title.
For the title, I'm thinking if it should be automated or if it should something you want to write.
To be honest, I would want to write it.
Okay.
Like
Fair
we
enough.
have these things like product description, scenario, but for myself, when I want to test the sign-up flow of my app, I just want the test to be sign-up flow. And I think it's a good introductory question, like what do you want to test?
But this has like two, you can see it in two ways. Like the one is that you're gonna ask me, okay, what do you want to test? And you ask me, that's a thing always that I have also with surveys and stuff. They ask me first, okay, answer this question with one sentence and then elaborate. And I'm like, just ask me one time and I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna give the full answer there. So you ask them, what do you want to test? But please describe it in a short sentence because this is gonna be the title. And then what's the scenario that you want to test? And now please be fully specific. So I feel the title can be, it's one of the things that I find a bit complex sometimes. And you can have a title by actually showing some stuff like the, you can show the scenario as the title actually, or we can discuss like what would be an approach. You can have the publish date, for example, or something else. But the actual scenario could be some kind of a title, because maybe right now the thing is we think that we need a title because the way that it's designed on the index screen is by using a title. So if we just design this component different ways, suddenly there's no title. I think it's better if should I show Framer now? Let me change the screen.
Yeah, but that makes sense. But on the other hand, if we use the scenario, it might be that I test some part of my application with a certain scenario. Then I get feedback, then I improve it, and then I basically run the same test again to see if it's better now. With the same scenario, the same URL.
To create, you mean the test again? That I didn't get it.
Yeah, like I build a feature, I send it to users, I create a test to gather feedback, then I receive feedback, and then I want to test the same feature again. Okay, I could reuse the old test, or maybe I'm going to create another one to have them separate, where the scenario is the same.
I want to duplicate. That's the question.
Yeah, and
okay,
like not how to create a duplicate, just if I test it again, how am I going to differentiate them in the list if there is no type?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, maybe we need one. Like we can take a look. We can start by trying without having one, and if we feel that there is no way to do it, then we can add the field. Like the way that I see it, it's good to have it at the end because it's in terms of user value, it has the least value that users do not really care about giving it a name. What I've been thinking when it comes to the UX approach of configuring like the test, Typeform came to my mind as a good example. So I think it's nice to take a look on the example surveys they have. It's not the same type of UI because this is a survey, but still it's a multi-field form. It's a form with a lot of fields. So it's one of the components that they've nailed the form UX in general. So I think it would be interesting to take a quick look on how they do it. Online order. They have. Okay, let's see. This is the product research survey. So they show one field at a time. What happened? No. And then you have to pick an answer and you can scroll through every field. So that's another like pattern where you show each field at a time, but you can scroll down, up and down as well. And you see the overall progress as well. This is another nice UX pattern that you can have for a multi-step form. Let's see the online order. I think all the forms have the same UX. I don't think they provide other options. Okay, pixel size. But I like this kind of interaction for Think Out Loud because, like, okay, tell us what you want to test, and then like describe the product description, describe the product and what problem does it solve, and how do you solve it. And you can keep it focused, but at the same time, you give them a way to look back, like to go to the previous field or to the next field. Because one thing that I don't like with models sometimes is that they force you to complete the step, and if for whatever reason you want to go backwards or forward, there is no way to do it. So that's something that I really enjoy on Typeform. So think about the Typeform UX. What we could do is to do some kind of collapsible items or something. Yeah, I have some ideas, so we can give it a try.
Can I make
So,
another suggestion?
Yeah, go for it.
Can you go to the actual test page
Yes.
in Framer? This one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I asked it in the comments on the stream before on episode 2. Like, why don't we take this page and just let the user edit it? So that they have a pre-made text on this page, and they can change it however they like. So they see exactly what it's going to look like in the end. And we don't have this complex form where you don't know where the scenario text is going to be used.
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me think. Yeah, the reality is for this one, it would introduce a lot of complexity and like technical complexity, and I'm not sure how we can make this work because you can ask this way like your first name, your product name, and so on. But when it comes to the link, then you need to come up with a custom screen for this one. So it's not that you can edit everything. It's only for these two screens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. But like the idea that I had would be that you have one input field for the links, and then below you have these two boxes. You don't even need the whole screen. You just need these two boxes.
Yeah, it's interesting to display how, to use similar UI to how it's displayed to the user. So let's copy paste this to have it next to us. I see what you mean. Like, I think we can build something in between that can work. Like, in general, it's a good, people want to have like users need a preview in general to be able to preview what they're actually creating. So I think we can find in between solution for that.
Why do you just want to preview and not to edit it directly?
Directly, but you don't have a test. Like, it's the same thing. It's simulating the UI in the test creation flow, right?
Yeah.
What do you mean by directly?
I mean, you take the same React component and replace the text with an input field. Yeah,
so it's literally replicating the UI. So it's something we can do for sure. Instead of having like a plain text field instead of having a text field like this here, describe your project, to really add it over here.
Yeah. Or is there a reason why you wouldn't do it?
No, this is a good practice. Instead of having a boring form to show the UI in this way. That's something I agree.
It also has some other advantages. If I want to add some information that's not in the form, I can do it because I can just add some new lines to the text.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so yeah, let's keep that next to the artboard as a reference to see how we can use it. So thinking about the fields, I'm gonna write them down as well here to have them as a list. Link, product description, product name. So we have these. When you're gonna create a test, it makes sense. So the scenario that we're designing for is you're a new user and it's your first test. So what would make sense to ask first is, how is your product called? What's your product name? And then your product description, and then the link. So the order that I would have is first describe us your product, then explain us what's the test you want to make by providing the link and the scenario, and then add your personal details. So I see it as three kind of phases. What do you think about it? Or do you prefer to start with a link and scenario?
No, I agree with product name and product description, and then link and scenario.
Mm-hmm.
How would you fit the estimated test time into it?
We can see, like, we can have it as a last step, like add also these kind of information to make it easier for your users to complete the test or something like that.
Okay, then we can try it.
Mm-hmm. So on a UI level, now I'm a bit confused how to do this without following a traditional form with text fields. So we decided to break it into 3 steps. First, describe your product. Then describe the test. 3, personalize it or something like that. So we broke it into 3 kind of steps. The first step is these 2 fields, then link scenario are the second one, and personalize it are the rest.
Can you say what you're thinking about?
Yeah, I'm just really thinking with not something very specific. I'm trying to think what kind of UI approach to follow for this, because we can just break it into 3 screens, but it's gonna be boring and not very good UX wise. So what I've been thinking is it would be nice to make this one screen, but keep it focused. So what I mean is we can do the following. So we want to follow the approach of Typeform. We want to do something similar, where you have all the fields accessible in a very simple and easy way, but on the same time that the UI is focused on only one question. So like if you want to go to the next one, you don't have to click next and then refresh the screen and lose your data and so on. It should be able to access all the fields in the same screen and at the same time keep the focus on a specific field. So we can either do it like Typeform, or we and like copy the approach that they have, or we can try something else. The other thing that we can try is to use collapsible items, where first you only see these, and then you see the rest below, and you can click on them to open the field and see what's in there. But I'm not sure if that would be a good idea. We can prototype and see how it feels.
It feels like it's still going to be like very long, the page.
But it not really, because it's only 3 steps. But let me add all of them. So what we can do, let me quickly design what I mean to make it more clear.
Go ahead.
Describe your product. So we can have here one. The name of the product. Drop these notes. Then add another one. Says, what would you feedback on? And have two fields. Yeah, let's clean up the artboard. One sec. It's nice to take notes, but then it's a bit annoying that you have to move everything around. So now it's a very quick kind of a wireframe of what I have in mind. Personal. So we can say that this is going to be a new screen where you create your test. I think that's a safe thing to say for now, and not go for a modal, because there are plenty of fields and I don't think a modal would be a good, wise choice.
I agree.
So first, we want to ask only this. What's your product? And we also need a title that you're creating the test.
Yeah, but I think at this point I would be confused why the tool is asking me what my product is and asking me to describe it. Like, it needs to be clear that it's describe the product to your user. There could be like the heading for the second step, because the first one is just the name. That one is pretty obvious. And then the second field is describe the product. You already
introduce. I would say introduce your product to
your users.
Is it like what I'm thinking that this would be also optional? Because if you ask for feedback from an existing user, you don't want to describe them again what the product is. So if I'm an active user of Framer, so if they send me a prototype to test, I don't want to see a screen. This is what Framer does. This is what problem we're trying to solve, because I already know. So
that's a really cool idea.
So I think this one should be optional, but it makes sense to have it as the first step. So
the name would make sense in any case, I think. Just the long description.
So this one, let's write down some notes. The first one is, we could even ask, are you going to ask feedback from existing users? Are you going to ask feedback from people that are not aware of your product, let's say? And then you can reply yes, no. And depending on that, we either skip or not the step. So yes, you have to introduce your product. Yes, introduce the product. Now go to next step. So that could be the first step. Instead of seeing this and having a skip button, we can first ask, are you gonna ask feedback from people that do not know it or not? So once you introduce your product, we said it's gonna be describe scenario.
What I'm thinking is when I try to test something with users who already know my product, then I usually, or in some cases, they might not know the feature that they should test because it's a new one or something that I'm still building. So maybe we need to still introduce them to what they should test.
Yeah, this is on the scenario.
Okay, you can, like here you have the first paragraph with it, which is the description, and then the second, which is the scenario. And if I add a complex feature to my product, I would expect for this paragraph to be replaced with a feature description.
Now, actually, you know what I realized? Because the flow that we have, that's why I'm a bit silent as well. I've been thinking about it. And the flow that we have is the first step is, hey, I'm Tim from the Panasonic team. I would like your feedback. Cool. Okay, let's do it. And then it's what I would like your feedback on. So this can be the same for all products and add an option if you want to skip it or not. And here is the describe your product plus the scenario. So we can keep it more open-ended and tell them, like explain the scenario and like test introduction or something like that, and have some examples for them. So you can describe the feature that you're building and why you build it, or you can introduce your product, or you can add both and use this UI as well.
Can you move a bit further to the right? To the open link and record your feedback screen?
Yeah, this is the one that we're working on.
This one. Yeah, there we also have these texts, and we split them differently than in the first screen.
Yeah, for this text, we can see how it's gonna be used. Like for what Panasnap is, like we can drop this title and have it like as test intro, for example. It's just a random title that I came up with. And what I mean is, like, if here you describe if you describe a feature that you built for your product, then it's gonna be over here. So it's a piece of information that should always be able to see.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention this to show that we need to separate the scenario from the description of the product or feature. They need to be two separate fields because we
yeah, definitely
split them
here. Okay, so let's give it a try. So we can actually, the first and the second step can actually be merged into one. So what I mean is the following. What we can do is we can, like, instead of presenting the product and then the scenario, what we can actually do is the following. What would you like to receive feedback on? It could be the step. Then we can have two fields. we can have these 3 fields.
That makes a lot of sense.
See, instead of having 2 steps, it makes way more sense and simplifies a lot. That's the thing, like, you know that I need to get this information from users, but there are so many ways to actually build this flow. It's always tricky. So this is not very like chaotic in terms of UX, because it's a question, okay, what would you like feedback on? And then you add the link, you describe the scenario, and you also describe the product. And we can use this preview somehow to explain them that this and this text will be combined, or it's not also very necessary, because we may end up using different titles. It's 2 different kind of pieces of information, so I think we can even use the fields. So what we could do right now, this is the first step, and then the rest of the fields are from what we discussed. You need to ask for the product name, link, product name, first name, order, brand color, estimated test time.
I just reordered it.
Mm-hmm. Describe the product or feature. Okay, so we want 2 text areas and 1. What you'd like to receive feedback on, and then we have 3 fields.
Your webcam is frozen.
Oh, let me check.
Maybe. Still frozen?
Mm. I'm just gonna do a quick reset and see if it's gonna work. Or I can, we can drop it for now, maybe.
The webcams are nice. They make it way more personal.
True. Let me check.
So if you can fix it easily.
It's always when you need everything. That's always when it breaks. And let's see if it's back.
It still looks frozen to me.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, what we just need to do is I'm going to disable the camera. Feel free to do the same.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it has freaked out, so there's nothing we can do.
Okay, we'll do it without.
Okay, nice. The audio is clear from my side, right?
Now it is. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So yeah, for the step, we have what you'd like to receive feedback on, and then we have the 3 fields, and then we only need the rest of the details, which is like the easy ones, like product name, first name, avatar, and so on. So I think we can keep the flow focused on these. Do you think that it's overwhelming if you see 3 fields?
To be honest, those are pretty big fields and fields that I need to think about for quite some time. Like I'm not going to write a description of the scenario in 20 seconds. I will probably think about it a bit longer. So it does feel like a lot. And the scenario and the product description are pretty big fields too. It's not just a 1-line field like the name or the link.
Yeah, indeed. I feel the same. So I'm writing the labels so that we can have a look at the fields and see the fields. Describe the scenario. Test. Yeah, the placeholder can be empty.
Right now this feels very abstract to me because I need to enter long texts and don't really know what's going to happen with them.
Yeah, I feel the same. That's the issue. I don't feel I'm building something. I'm just like, okay, now I have to complete 3 fields. It's super boring.
Yeah.
Another approach would be to trigger a modal without even going to a single page where you have 1 field at a time. So the question is, what if we have each of these fields at a time instead of the 3 of them?
I mean, when I need to see that they are separate ones, because the first one is describe the product or feature you want feedback on. If I see just this field, I will describe the feature and then say, please test it or something like
exactly.
I will
You don't know
the scenario.
Exactly. You don't know that another field is coming up. That after that, we're gonna ask you to describe the scenario.
So why are we not going for what you see is what you get editor? Like, can you go to the preview thing?
So let's say we display this.
Yeah, just display this. Make it so that I can edit both texts. I see exactly where it's going. It's easy for me to write. It's fun to write because I can actually see what's going to be built.
Yes. That's an approach for sure, because you also pre-fill it with some data, but it can be also confusing. Like if you don't have any labels for this, if you just show this to people, they're gonna freak out. It's like, I see what I would like your feedback on, and then I read about PanelSnap. I have no clue what PanelSnap is. And like you need to add some labels as well. So we cannot really have what you see is what it gets really works for if it's like a blog post. So right here, your post body, let's say, in a way.
Can you go back to the original screen where that what I would like your feedback on is being shown? Like the original screen that the end user is going to see.
Yeah.
Above that screen, you placed a template. Yeah, there, this one. You placed a template of what that text should look like. And if we pre-fill it with this text, I think it's going to be pretty clear how to edit it so that it makes sense.
So here, the thing is, we discuss about solutions, but it's not clear what problem are we trying to solve. That's why I feel a bit lost at this point. Like,
okay,
what you suggest is nice. Like UX-wise, I see some issues where like we have the template here, but if a user sees this, it's not clear. Like, okay, what is this brackets, and also what kind of content should I? How can I say it? Like, showing only the screen doesn't not very clear because they need to see the whole user journey. For you now, it's very clear because you've seen the whole user flow of what it takes to take a test. So you're like, okay, it will be super cool to see that screen. That's why it feels a bit confusing to me. Let's say we go with the field. So let's follow another approach. I'm not rejecting the idea or anything. I'm just trying to find a better process to come up with the right idea because I feel we're a bit all around the place. Let's say we go with this one. What are the problems that we have?
Too much on the same page.
More specific is too overwhelming. I feel I have to invest a lot of time.
Hey.
What?
One thing that I'm currently thinking about, one idea, would be to pre-fill these fields with the template. That would make it so much easier. Because I only have to fill in the blanks.
Yes.
I will do it. But we can continue writing down the problems.
I think that's the main one that we have at this point. And maybe if we just work a bit more on the UI, it could be clear because we just have huge fields.
Like it's still, there's PandaSnap in there. It needs to be
just
application
stuff and we can.
Framer needs a feature where you can go back to the last position where you were editing.
Yeah, sometimes I have to do a lot of back and forth myself as well.
Okay. We still editing the text.
I'm thinking
so that it feels more like so that we remove the freelance designers and just say helps audience. You know what I try to think of? We can make the text perfect at another point. Except if you want to do it right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking like how to provide the example is a tricky one. Like if it should be in placeholders or if it should be below and so on. This is something we can think about.
I feel if it's like a text where I just have to fill in the blanks, that's pre-filled, it's easier.
Yeah. Give me 1 sec. Yeah, yeah, the pre-fill could be indeed a good one.
What's tricky, in my opinion, is a web application thing.
Let me take
because sometimes you want. Is there an issue?
Yeah, my Mac froze a bit for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, live streaming is really heavy. It just freaked out. Let me restart my screen.
Works. Nice.
Okay, perfect.
So what I find a bit tricky is this is a web application, because sometimes you might want to test a feature, and one idea would be to select the kind of test you want to do before, like to have drop down or a selection of 3 buttons where you choose, okay, it's a web application, it's a mobile application, it's a feature, and then you get a proper template.
Yeah, that could be also true. The thing is, that's for the case where you want to describe the product. What if you want to describe a feature? I think having just an example somewhere that you can read and then keeping it free for you, I think it's better.
Okay. Like the idea would be that you can get a template for that you select which template you want. And one is application, one is feature. And you get different ones pre-filled depending on what you select.
But on this one, what I'm trying to question myself about is this really a problem, or are we trying to oversimplify the UX? What would you say?
Okay.
It's a good idea with the drop down, but what I'm thinking is like, should we get into should we dig deeper and try to improve the UX, or should we? Because what I've been thinking about is it's something that I have also with other projects. Sometimes I make assumptions that this is like complex and so on until I use it, and it's not. So now we say it's too many fields, but is it like it's 3 small text fields? If you
I see.
Like now you look at it and it feels like it's a lot, but only when you use it you can really say if it's too much or not. Because you describe your product, so like think out loud is a tool for, I don't know, unmoderated, let's say, think aloud user testing. Describe the scenario you want to test. Try to create an account. Link is thinkoutloud.io. It's not like, once I start using it, it doesn't feel that bad. One thing that I miss here is like, okay, I added this, but how are they gonna be shown to the user? I want some kind of a preview functionality.
Yeah.
So what would make sense? Like now I use it as a user so that I can get a sense of how this feels. What could make sense is to have this component below and have a title. This is what users will see, and understand how this information will be actually displayed to the user.
Okay.
instead of having a preview button. But the question is, I missed that, but do I miss it that much that I need to fix this thing? Like there is no, it doesn't have to be perfect UX-wise.
For now or in general?
For now, for the MVP. I think for the MVP, it's fine. Like for the
MVP,
at least for the first user testing session.
Yeah.
So we can say that we keep it simple this way. And should we use the value like with the prefill where you start and you're able to edit it? I think it makes sense that instead of having a piece of text below and so on.
Yeah, I think so too. We should work on this copy at some point.
Yeah, definitely. For now, it's clear for us that we're going to display an example as a value. So it does the job for now. Here we don't need anything. So first we ask what would you like to receive feedback on? And then we said we need a brand color, estimated time, avatar, first name. So for the first name, the avatar, and the avatar, if you sign up with Twitter, we can get all the info from there, for example.
Are you planning on implementing Twitter sign up?
That's another question. Like if it would make sense for this product to have a social kind of login. I don't think so because, yeah, it doesn't really make sense to me to sign up with Twitter.
Depends on how much time Scotty wants to spend on this.
Yeah, that's also true. That's a good one. Brand color, avatar, first name, and product name.
Like first name could be collected, in theory at least, when the sign up is done.
Which one can you repeat, sorry?
The first name could be collected when the sign up is done. Like when you sign up, you give your email address, your password, and your first name. And the avatar is global. So in my opinion, it doesn't make... Yeah, I mean, it does make some sense to ask for it during the test creation because we want it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's add the button to go to next step. Okay.
This is interesting to work on.
And it's, yeah.
It's harder
sometimes
than I thought.
Yeah, same for me. Same for me. Because it always comes to like, okay, how much do you want to like improve the UX? There's always a better version of what you're designing. That's the rule. Like you can always improve it. The question is, that's why UX is so dependent on the business strategy that you have at this point. Is okay, you want to make it better, but what is the priority right now? So for this one,
yeah, that's true.
I'll continue.
And it's such an easy trap to fall into, to just try to make something perfect.
Yes, that's true. Come on. Okay. So if we have this continue, then second step where we ask for the rest of the details, like your email, your name, and so on.
So would you make that all in one step? like email, I would. Or is that like a third step where it's going to be sign up?
I think it could be the second step altogether because it's first name, avatar.
Okay.
So we have your first name. Also, we don't need a big of fields. Then we want the avatar. And the brand color. Yeah, let's not call it profile photo. How would we call the avatar?
Why not call it avatar?
Yeah, let's see. Frame. And then the prompt color. Okay, create a test where you'd like to receive feedback on. So for this, the test is personalize your test or something like that. How personalized? It sounds way too boring and technical. I feel I'm a bit stuck to your test. Yeah, sounds like that.
Because now it makes sense why we need this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, copy-wise, it makes way more sense.
I would switch avatar and first name. To me, it makes sense to first state my name and then
Yeah.
show a
Okay.
picture.
And we can actually move this a bit below. Are you moving something?
No, I saw that you wanted to move, so I'm doing
Okay. Give me 1 sec because it's a bit unresponsive. Yeah, Chrome crashed, but it looks like.
Yeah, you need a better computer.
Yep. Waiting for the new MacBook. Yeah, I just want to add the brand color field as well.
Yeah, how would a brand color field look like? Would you just
the color picture we can have what Framer has.
okay?
Or we can just use a ready-to-use like component from React to keep things simple.
Yeah, makes sense. Because a
And
color picker is going to be complicated.
Or we can just have like once you click on it, then we can say in tooltip add the hex code or something like that. I'm sure there are many easy to use libraries from there from React, so we can just do something like that as well.
I'm thinking of something else, like, which would also be cool, that when you enter your URL, the link to your product, the product is fetched and all the colors from the CSS become available to select here.
That could be, yeah, to improve the UX. That's a good idea as well.
And you wouldn't have to implement a color picker.
Yeah,
but you would have to implement the
a
fetching.
crawl. Exactly. Brand, name of your product, brand, color.
To be honest, I would start with the hex value.
Yeah, we can keep it simple.
And maybe add a placeholder.
I think like for the create test flow, if we just do it like this, and then have also the email. And add another field. Let's say, okay, let's say with all these details, we can create an account. Does it make sense to have two different pages? That's a question.
How do you want to do the authentication? Do you want to go with the email password thing, or do you want to go with just email, where
just email,
like Framer does it, where you don't have a password and get a login link every time you want to log in?
Yeah, for now we can say just the email. And if we need the password, we can iterate. I'm going to discuss it with Scotty as well.
Okay, there's also the legal part. When you sign up, you need to be aware that you're going to sign up, and you probably need to accept like the privacy policy.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm thinking like you hit create test, and then we trigger the sign up, which like the email, and that I agree on the terms of service.
That would make sense. That could be a modal or another page.
So what I'm thinking, like, it doesn't really make sense to have this in a page. So what I'm thinking for the MVP, like, is to not really overanalyze it and just do the following.
I'm curious.
Just show everything in one page and find ways on the UI level to simplify it, because it's not that complex, the product. We shouldn't make it that complicated.
We also structured it a lot better than in the beginning, so it feels not as complicated anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what's wrong with the Chrome today, man. Like the previous live stream was pretty okay. We didn't have any cross.
So you want to get this into the frame?
Yeah, I'm trying to move all this to the frame, but
yeah, I'm
became a bit unresponsive.
Is there something missing from the frame?
I don't think so.
I also don't think so.
Yeah, it looks like everything is there. Then we can add below another container with the rest of the fields.
Is it still not responding?
Nope.
Damn it.
Waiting for it. Yeah, I think for this live stream we'll have to stop it and try. I can try again tomorrow or next week. Let me. Yeah, I'm waiting for
No, something.
Chrome. Okay. Yeah, I would say let's stop this live stream, and yeah, see if we can give it another try tomorrow.
We can. Everybody who's watching, check out what Jim is doing. He is giving
Yes.
awesome advice, and he's making great courses. Check him out.
Thank you, man. Thanks.
Yeah, he didn't ask me to say this, but I feel like I
always feels awkward to say these kind of things. But yeah, for this one, I'm gonna add also in the description of the video all the links to the handbooks and everything we're creating. It's a bit of a pity and weird. Like, it's the first time for me that something just doesn't work on the live stream. So it's a unique kind of feeling to have, I would say. So I'm gonna try to make sure that tomorrow is working properly.
Nice.
So yeah, cool. So that's all for this stream, and yeah, probably I will go live tomorrow and keep working on this flow and try to finalize the prototype. Cool.
Perfect,
so
man.
Thanks everybody for anybody who watched the video, and catching you up to the next one.
Bye.
Cool.